Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My 33 brother, good morning. What's going on with you? All right. Now we just gonna go straight into the conversation, right? Now the title is Don't Look at the Sacrifice, Look at the Investment. So let's look at what the word sacrifice is, right? It's gonna be a long definition, y'all bear with. It's an act of slaughtering an animal or person or surrendering a possession as an offering to God or to a divine supernatural figure. An act of giving up something valued for the sake of something else regarded as more important or worthy. Uh, to give up for the sake of other considerations. So, in other words, you gotta you 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 you're giving up something for a reason, right? Now, let's look at investing. Invest. To invest. We're gonna just say invest. Expend money with the expectation of achieving profit or material result by putting it into financial plans to provide or endow someone with something with a particular quality or attribute, right? So we're gonna look at invest, not in the monetary, not into the monetary value, but we're gonna put it into everyday actions or everyday circumstances without the financial part. Let's look at it from we'll look at it from the abundance aspect that I like to talk about a lot, right? So why are we talking about this, right? Now for for the Muslims, they started Ramadan last week. I believe it was last Friday that just passed. Today, today is the beginning of Lent, right? There's millions of people throughout the world going to a church to get some ashes put on their forehead to say that they're followers of Christ, they're believers in Christ, but to start the journey of Lent, right? For us, for me, it's very simple, right? I believe if you are in the religion of Christianity, right? you have to go through a fasting session. So today is the first day that you should be fasting, right? And I believe that in order to fast, you got to give up food, right? Well, you got to give something up rather. Most people give up food, other people give up other vices, right? Why are we doing that? That's the sacrifice you are making to the creator that you are serving. And as you do that, right, I believe that people go into it with the mind frame of losing, right? As I just read you what sacrificing is, right? It had a very minimal understanding of the gain of the sacrifice. So now you're right. How do I draw to God? How do I allow God to understand that I am doing this for his purpose? You give your all to him. You give your all to the fact that you're trying to get to a place of understanding what God has in store in your life, right? Uh, like I said, people give up certain things. So, but if we go into that mind frame, right, as if we go into it as just losing, right, I think we defeat ourselves of the whole sacrificing aspect or drawing nigh to God because we feel like we're not going to gain any. So if you go into it as it is an investment for you to be a better version of yourself, you may understand why you may go about it in a different light, right? Last year I gave up I gave up junk food for 40 days, right? And it was the point of, because I that's what I enjoy to do. I'd rather give it up to become a better to come closer to the higher power. But now it's about everybody becoming a better version of themselves. So if you are to become a better version of yourself, you must give something. And church, they would say, leave it at the altar, right? So you must give something in order for you to chase or go after what you think your investment is, right? If I am to become a better person, I must give things up to where I am no longer doing it. So I can't I can't go hang out with friends. I may spend a little less time with family. I'm in Chicago, good morning, good morning, right? So when you go about those journeys and ventures, you understand that you are losing something in order to gain, right? Shout out to my 33 brother Word because we had this conversation. And in the beginning, I will admit I didn't like the concept because, sacrificing I understood as losing to gain. But he gave me the perspective of if you really look at sacrificing, all they did was they killed the animal to sacrifice to God. But we look when you really look into it, you look at it as a loss because you lost said animal, you lost said aspect in your life, right? And we forget that we're trying to gain something, we're trying to add something into our lives because we only look at what we lost. That's why Miss T, good morning. He made it to where sacrifice, you only look at the bad aspect of sacrifice, right? I mean, we know that when you invest money, there's an opportunity of losing, right? There's an opportunity of losing, but we always go into it expecting the gain. So when you go about it that way, you have to say, you know what? I'd rather invest myself into drawing to God instead of just worrying about the sacrifice of losing something to God. If we go about it that way, we're going to it with a defeatist attitude. And that's not what this thing is about. Now, normally I would ask people, if you're going to fast, you fast for, you know, to draw near to God, draw near to your creator, to the God that you serve, right? Today, I'm just saying, if you are going to do it with the expectations of gaining what God has in store for you, to gain what He is ready to place into your heart, what He is willing to activate in your storehouse, right? It's never a loss, right? When you give up things for God or even people, not to say that you're praising a person. I'm just saying when you give up something, it's not to say that you lost, but to gain something, right? So you give, like when you get into a relationship with somebody, right? When you understand that you guys are going to become one, you have to give up certain parts of yourself in order to balance out said relationship, right? But it's an investment because you are gaining something. You are gaining that person that you want to be with, whatever the relationship is, friendship, romantic, whatever. You gaining something out of that situation, but you have to put something that you hold to the side. I'm not going to say dearly, but you possess something that you possess. You remove it so that way the relationship could be smooth sailing. The relationship could be worth your while. That the relationship is an investment that you truly want to gain from, right? So I'm asking you to go about that aspect in your 40-day fast. I get it that 40 days may be a little long, but that's the point of the sacrifice, right? You're giving up something for 40 days to invest in something to get a result in 40 days later. So when you go about it that way, you can say, you know what, I'm a put down. I think I believe somebody gave up cigarettes last year, and they gave it up, and then they said they made it, and then you know they gained a better understanding of why it wasn't that important. Their health got better, and so on and so forth. But if we keep looking at it as the sacrifice, we're only seeing what we lose instead of what we're gaining out of the situation. Good afternoon, Riaz. And so those are the things that we have to look for when we go through these situations. Like young Riaz is going through Ramadan right now, and he had to sacrifice certain things. I believe he said he had to give up music, his musical likeness, the things that he liked in music to draw close to Allah, right? Hopefully he understands that the gaining of Allah, what he gets from Allah is more important than what he put away for this certain amount of time. Maybe it'll keep him away from the music and make him a better. We don't know where it's going to go. That's what investments is. An investment is something that you think that you gain something. You gain so much from that investment that you ain't worried about what you're losing. And so that's why I'm asking you guys to don't look at the sacrifice, look at the investment, right? If I go, all right, some people may feel that you gave up individuality when you joined the group, right? I was asked to become a part of the 9%, and I accepted because their goal was to make, to improve, make a better you, a better us, right? So if I go about that aspect, I take away my personal goals, even though they're similar, and just add to what is being built in the group, right? And there's a great group of people in that circle. You got Word, you got Tay, you got BDB, you got Santina, you got Commander, you got so many different people that's in the group. And in some way, most people feel like a group don't work. This group works because you get to keep your identity and pursue making somebody better. And you're not losing anything. You only lost your individual aspect of making somebody better. You still get the term, or you get the opportunity to help somebody become a better version of themselves, right? So it's not even a sacrifice, it's the investment, but you just give it away because you may go on you may go at this time and they may go at this time. It should be a group setting to where everybody converse. All right, I know you're going here, I know you're going on there. We're not here to interrupt your flow, because the flow is to make sure people get the become the best version of themselves through whatever avenue they hear from, whether it's me, Word, Tay, Santina, BDB, whoever, right? So that's the sacrifice that you give. You give your own personal aspects. You put it to the side to make the group a better version of itself. And I believe, well, I know that it has worked in many different ways. People are flourishing within the group. For the most part, we have people's backs. If somebody goes, call me if you're going through something or whatever the case may be. I do it in a broader band, of course, because I tell anybody, if you need to have the conversation with me, I will make myself available for you. But that's just the thing, right? When you take that time to if you take that time to be there for somebody, you're taking time away from yourself. And a lot of the time, people may not take you up on that. You take that aspect, and some people may feel like you're a burden. They become a burden to you, so they don't really want to reach out to you. You shouldn't look at it like that, because you're not a sacrifice. The person that, if you need the help, you're not a sacrifice, you're not a burden. We're here to make you we're here to invest in you, because if you pour into me your problems, excuse me, and then you get a different result, like, oh, I got an answer now, I let that off my chest, and now I can try to apply whatever was said in the conversation into my life. And if it works, it's not you gain something from that, right? You can no longer see yourself as a burden. You see yourself as someone that has gained access to a better version of yourself, because you let go of that hurt, that problem that you have. I'm not an altar, but you gave to me, and then we came up with, okay, what do you think you should do to get away from that? Now you're investing into your problem. Your problem is no longer your problem. Now you're investing into the answer and going forth to see if that investment is worth your while. And so that's what the religious aspect should be, as far as going into the 40 days of Lent, going into the Ramadan period, to give yourself the opportunity to become the best version of yourself. Some people will say a cleaner version of yourself. Why cleaner? Because you are sinning less and less every day. You are making mistakes less and less every day, to become the best version of yourself, or to become as close to God as you possibly can be. God-like, Christ-like, whatever, however you want to view it. So in order to take those steps, you must give something, whether it's your time, whether it's food, whether it's an attitude, whether it's whatever it is. So in other words, if you're trying to gain, I need to have peace in my life. You have to draw away from the chaotic things that keeps you from the peace. You must focus on that peace by staying away from the chaotic scenes. If you want to have a joyous life, you must stay away from the things that keep you sad. If you want to be if you want to gain financial gains, even though that's not what the sacrifice is about, but in general, I'm talking about towards God. But if you want to even go about it that venture, if you want to gain financial gains, you must bust your tail in order to do so. So you have to give up something that holds you back from keeping you financially stable, whether it's buying cigarettes, or buying drugs, or whatever it is that takes from you, right? Because some people eat out every night. So even if you gotta buy food and cook it yourself, you have to you have to sacrifice something in order to gain to gain from the investment of the sacrifice. I know people don't like to put those words together, and like I said, it doesn't. For me, it was hard for me to understand. Because if I really just look at the sacrifice, the loss, I've lost a lot of things in life. But I have to understand, even in a loss, you must gain something. You make the best out of a bad situation, right? I lost my parents, right? So people, it wasn't a sacrificial aspect, but when you lose, you feel like there's a part of you that gets lost. But if you take the fact that they taught you and gave you values and aspects, you put that into your everyday life, you activate it, you have now gained from that loss because you still have the memories of said parents as you go forward in life. Of course, they can't physically be here, but the investment is you become the person that your parents would want you to be, or Big Mama wanted you to be, whomever you lost in a situation, right? So I had to be a better uncle towards my nieces and nephews when I lost my brother, right? Because I can't replace their father, but I can say, you know what? There's somebody on your father's side that is willing to be there for you at any given time. It's an investment to show my nieces and nephews that I love them that much that I will stop just about anything just for you to have the conversation with, right? Just to say, you know what, if you need a place to stay, I'm available. Why? Because you have to understand that in these type of situations, when you giving up something, there's something better than you or more important to you at play, right? It's not about you at all. It's about you being a person that someone could rely on in that situation. So just because my nieces and nephews don't have a dad, they can have an uncle, a male figure in their life to say, you know what, uncle, I appreciate you coming through. Realist, what's going on? I appreciate you stepping up because you didn't have to do that, but because you love my father so much, you made yourself available for me. And not to say that you that I will take away from my children, but I will treat you as closely as I can as one of my own. That's the investment to the situation. But it's the sacrifice of losing my brother just for them to understand that aspect, or hopefully they can understand that aspect. Now, if they don't gain nothing from it, they're always going to see that they just lost. That's the sacrifice part. But when you have the word investment, you think about there's always a possibility of gaining something. When you come on YouTube and you speak to certain people, right? There's a possibility that you can gain a friend, but for the most part, we are so shielded from certain situations that we only see the loss, so we're not even going to invest in the situation before we lose because we already have that losing aspect. Like these people ain't real. These people ain't going to accept what I'm trying to do. These people ain't going to be open and honest, and they're going to hurt me before they help me type situation. And that's not what it's about. Meet, good morning. How you feeling? And so I would ask, I can't make nobody do nothing. Everybody's grown. I would ask everybody to give up something that you love, that you think that you can't go without, right? And see for the next 40 days if it's if you gain whatever your goal is, right? So if you say I want to be I want to be a better speaker than what I am today, right? So now you got to give up certain things. You gotta listen to yourself. You go into dictionaries and use words that that can simplify your messages or whatever it takes to become that better speaker, right? But it's going to take time. And so now instead of you going to the bar after work or whatever the case may be, you come home and you say, you know what, let me become a better speaker. Let me be a better content creator. So now you sit there and go through the fact of time that, okay, how do I become a better content creator? How do I get my message out there in a better form or fashion? Right? You have to stop something in order to gain that aspect of becoming better. There has to be a sacrifice. You have to lose something to become better. That's just the way of life, right? even though I'm talking about it from a spiritual aspect, and now I'm putting it into physical form. Why? Because a lot of people got to see things to believe it, right? Hopefully, if you go through this fast, you can say, you know what, I'm gaining a spiritual aspect from a thing. But I understand that people live in the world. People are in the world and of the world instead of it. Because you're of the world, you don't have to be in it. Those are two different things. But because there are people that go with that mantra, I have to put it into a certain aspect, right? So, like I said, let's just say you gave up alcohol for 40 days, right? So you gave up alcohol, and the investment should be, the result of the investment is there is a better version of yourself. Your skin may clear up, your eyes may be uh, whiter than they normally are. Your 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 insides are functioning better because you are not pouring something that's not needed into it, but are adding. But you're pouring the concept of improvement into your body. You are pouring the aspect of improvement into your mind and soul, right? That's the investment of the sacrifice that you gave up as far as whatever it is. Scorp, good morning. Whether it's alcohol, whether it's cigarettes because you stop smoking cigarettes for the next 40 days, your lungs might improve, your breathing might improve. You know, that's the result of losing or putting down the pack of cigarettes or going buying Lucy's every day. Who knows? You may gain something by investing the money that you put into those packs of cigarettes, and it may improve you financially. You don't know, but that's why you have to lose in order to gain. You got to sacrifice to see the investment most of the time. And when you go about doing it that way, instead of just looking at the sacrifice, you won't have the defeatist attitude. I believe that's why in the when people make New Year resolution, they only see what they're giving up and not understanding what they could possibly gain. Right? If you only see the sacrifice, you're not going to see what you invest, the investment that's right in front of you, because you got blinders on. You only see what you lost instead of what you could possibly gain. And so these are the things that we must have in order to you know get through the fasting period, get through these 40 days of Lent, get through the 30 days of Ramadan. You have to understand that you have to let go of something in order to possess something, right? To put so if you have two hands and your hands is full of things that you normally have, you can't see the investment because you can't grab it at the investment because your hands are full. So if you put the stuff down, you may be able to grab more of the smaller investments in your that you are focused on, because now your hands are free. You can grasp at it. You can see it. You'll probably put more and put it to embrace it even more to where you can hug the investment because there's nothing in the way that's stopping you. You're not looking at the sacrifice that you just placed at the altar. You get the gain and put it towards your bosom and embrace it because you have the hands to do so. And so yeah, those are the things that you have to understand as we go forward in life. The question is, are you willing to make that sacrifice? Is your mind able to say, you know what, I am preparing myself to let this go? Right? We have to understand that in order to let something go, we have to really be ready to make that change. We got to make the change to be to fulfill the improvement that is ahead of us, right? And it's not about you the person, it's about you in your entirety, right? It's like if you have a group of friends and you guys come up, yo, I need to make this decision for the entire group. You no longer thinking about it as yourself. You saying, you know what, it's for the betterment of the group that I make this decision for everyone and not myself. That is the sacrifice for the investment, because it's no longer about you, it's about the people that you are embracing, the people that you are are holding in regard. It's not to say that you hold them as a godlike figure. It just means that you love them more than you love yourself. You love them as you love yourself, maybe even a little bit more, right? People move back home to be with their parents because they love their parents so much. So they sacrifice their individuality to make sure that their parents have, somebody around them as they get older. You see what I'm saying? You sacrifice for the investment. You rather have that peace for your parent instead of that that joy and fulfillment that you would normally have for yourself. And those are the things that we have to go. That's the things that we have to do as we go, forward in everyday life, right? When you give something up, you're giving it up to become a better version of yourself, right? How can I be how can I be more vocal with my message, right? So now I have to Roots, how you feeling? Um, I have to say, you know what? It's not about if I understand it. It's up to me to make sure that they understand it. If that means I have to simplify things, I have to simplify it so people can receive the message. And if they see the investment and it works for them, then I have just now seen that you became a better version of yourself. And if you become a better version of yourself, that makes everybody around you a better version of themselves because they get the best part of you instead of the part of you that they normally see. They see the improvement in you, and then you can reach somebody else. You the one that can reach another one. You the one that can reach 1,000. And that's the things that we have to look forward to. Those are the things that we have to look at as we go forward. If we are to invest in ourselves, we have to lose in order to gain. Right? You have to put your time out there as your money to invest in the embetterment of yourself, the embetterment of your surrounding, the embetterment of just improvement and around you, right? If you plant a seed, you have to invest the time to make sure that soil is well watered, that it's in the perfect spot for the sun to hit it. And what happens? The investment is you have a beautiful whatever it is. If it's a flower, if it's a fruit tree, whatever it is, there is a better version of it to where uh wait, watermelon, how you doing? Um, you become that better. It blossoms into that thing that it needs to be, but it takes your sacrifice of your time, right? If you come straight home after work and you say, "I'm not even going to look at the garden," it may be weeds around it. But if you say, "You know what? I'm not just going to jump in the shower and go ahead and eat my dinner and go about my evening," instead you go out there and say, "You know what? Let me take this 5 minutes." You sacrifice the 5 minutes to see if your investment, the seed that you planted, is developing in the way that it needs to develop. I'm using that to say we have to look at the sacrifice, the thing that we're willing to put to the side to see the investment. If I say, you know what, I care about your well-being, I'm taking the time to worry about you. I'm sacrificing my time to make sure that you're okay. As my 33 brother as he sees all the time, he sees like, yo, I don't care what the situation is. He will call and check up on me. I don't care if I'm not feeling at my best. He will say, you know what? I hope you feel better. Or, hey, you want to have a conversation? Let's have a conversation. Whatever it is, because I understand that it's not about me, it's about the person that is I am involved with. Because if we come together, I have to put their stuff ahead of me. Right? Now, in the spiritual aspect, it's not about you, it's about you drawing near to God. So you have to make that investment. Okay, what scripture do I need to read to become a better version? LA Project, good morning. Wait, yeah, good morning. Right? You have to look at it to where, okay, if I'm drawing near to God, I have to take away from something that I normally do. So instead of me getting that extra half an hour of sleep, let me get this half an hour of reading scripture to where I can understand what the message is that I am reading, right? And that's how it works in everyday life. In order for me to be the best the best friend to somebody, I have to stop looking at myself and say, okay, how can I help Roots, or how can I help Scorpio? I have to look at it that way, so that way when they present themselves, when they come to me with something, I could be able to understand, to listen, to understand what they say, instead of worrying about, well, you wasted my time. If we're going about it that way, we're losing. We're not only losing the friendship, we're losing ourselves, because we're not worth anything when we have that mind frame. So we only sacrificing and not adding to the investments. BDB, what up? How you feeling? How you living? What up, Nine? And that's the thing that I want people to go into these fasting sessions. Like I said, Riaz is going through Ramadan. If he just worried about himself, the fact that he fasting ain't gonna mean nothing. He's just doing it out of the religious aspect as a routine, and he don't gain anything out of it. So he just sacrificing time instead of investing into his better version of himself. And that's with anybody that goes through a fasting session. If you worried about anything, you're not going to look at the investment. You're going to look at what you're putting in, and you feel like it's a waste of time. Nobody here is a waste of time. Most friendships were not built on a waste of time. You sacrifice something in order to that for that friendship to go about being. Or if you're in a relationship, you sacrifice something in order for that relationship to establish or to grow into whatever it is now. But if you take it for granted, you're going to look at it as a loss. And because most people don't like to lose, they stay in bad situations. They rather be in a bad investment than actually going out to seek something that's worth their while. You see what I'm saying? It's a yin to a yang to a situation. And when you go about it that way, you can say, you know what? I just wasted my time. That's why a lot of people sit in bad relationships, because they have that sacrifice to investment aspect, but they only in the sacrificing stage. You're not looking at what could possibly be, right? Now, if I go up there and say, you know what, I see the good in somebody and I invest my time into them, right? I'm sacrificing my time to help them to see that they can become better. If they don't see that they better, you dust yourself off and keep it moving. Why? Because you can only see, you can only love somebody as much as they love themselves. You can pour into somebody, but if their cap is closed, they're not gonna to feel the pouring into them as they should. But because they only see the sacrifice and not the investment of self. And when they go about it that way, those are the results that you get. So that's why we have to, really sit down and really take the opportunity to say, is this thing going to be worth it? Is it me drawing close to God? Is it going to be worth it? Is it me becoming friends with this person? Is it going to be worth it? Right? There should be no feelings involved. It should be an understanding of the investment instead of the sacrifice. Because if you go into something with only your emotions, it's going to be a roller coaster ride. And then sometimes when you go through those emotional stages, you don't get to see clearly, because the specks of whatever emotion is in your eye is going to hold you back. But when you do it from a spiritual aspect, you must have the discernment and the understanding of, this is for the empowering of somebody. This is the bettering for somebody. If I can add to somebody becoming a better version in themselves, then you take that opportunity. If I can help somebody, you know, become a better business person, you take that opportunity. If you can help somebody become a better man, you take that opportunity. If you see if females, take the opportunity, say, I can make this woman a better woman, right? Because I mean, I'm not trying to sound sexist, but y'all understand the concept. You taking the investing of empowering somebody, or improving of somebody, instead of saying, you know what, I can let this person go and be by themselves. If you see if you see the investment, you're not looking at it, well, hopefully I'm not wasting my time. It's just like somebody that goes into a marriage with a prenup. So you already looking at the sacrifice of becoming one with somebody, and you're not even looking at, hey, I may not need this prenup. I'm already worried about what I'm losing before I can even invest. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose, because you already focused focus on the sacrifice instead of the investment. And that's what a lot of us do in everyday life, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, a friend to friend, a family, whatever it is. We look at the investment. We're so focused on what we're going to lose that we don't see the promised land that's in front of us, which will be the investment. You got to get up and move, but we so stuck on where we at that we're not willing to lose where we're at right now. That's why a lot of the time people settle for less, because they are so afraid that, they're going to lose what they already have, even if it's something better. Like, somebody won't get off their quarter to make $1 because they so value that quarter that they don't see that 4 quarters is better than one. So they won't lose what they already have. They'll stay where they at instead of looking at the investment that's in front of them. So I'm asking, do you guys, is that a perspective worth trying? Is that a thing worth shooting for, to become a better version of yourself, to become the best whoever you are going forward? But if we're stuck on what we already know, if we stuck on, things that happened in the past, if we stuck on those things, we are we already are on a losing battle, because we're not willing to sacrifice for the improvement that's right in front of us. So those are the things that, like I said, I would want people to focus on. You know, even if you do it, if you take the fast or not, those are the things that people should want to do, right? But it's up to you if that's what you choose to do, because at the end of the day, you are your own person. No, it's not even about influencing anybody or anything. You have to wear those clothing of being the best version of yourself, or do you want to be where you at? You are the one that got to go through the ultimate improvement, instead of just sitting where you at. You got to sacrifice in order to make that investment worth your while. You have to lose in order to gain. The question is, are you willing to gain from that type of situation? Are you willing to take the risk of losing in order to gain? We risk a whole bunch of things every day. We risk that we got to go to work. We risk that we get, something may happen to us on a bus or the train or the plane, or however you get to your job, right? We are at risk every day. We are at risk of being manipulated on YouTube, right? Because somebody's concept may stick it to my mind, and then, hey, whether it's good or bad, it's going to influence me to do whatever it is that I do. If you are helping somebody, you say, all right, I want to help somebody because I see so many people that are hurt. There are so many people that's going through something, right? You can, all right, well, I want to help. I want to invest in that. But in order to invest in helping, you got to say, you know what? I got to take time away from myself so they can understand that somebody is here for them instead of against them. Nobody's here to harm them. Um, all right. Nobody's here to harm you, but to help you. But if you always sitting on what happened before, you're not willing to sacrifice from yesterday to today, you're not gonna want to make that investment. You're not gonna want to say, you know what, I need the help, but I'm so afraid that somebody's gonna use what I'm saying against me. It shouldn't be about that, but that's the ways of the world. Some people are so afraid that, I'm revealing something that harmed me, that you will weaponize it instead of helping me get to the best version of myself. And so those are the things that, like I said, those are the things that keep us from looking at the investments, and not, because we're so stuck on what happened yesterday. So we're stuck on the sacrifice. We're so worried about losing instead of gaining. So, it's just it's just different things that happen that don't need to happen, but because it's in our mind frame, it's in our society, it's in our environment, however you want to see it, that we don't make the improvements, or we don't make the investments because we're so worried about yesterday. Stop looking at yesterday as it's going to be tomorrow. You have to take today for what it is, a chance to invest into your tomorrow instead of you constantly looking back at your yesterdays. But a lot of us do that because we have been hurt for so long that we are not willing to make the investment of empowering ourselves, uplifting ourselves, being the best version of ourselves, right? Because I understand you may feel like you may be too dependent on somebody, but if you strengthen yourself, you could let go of that hand a little bit to say, you know what, I could stand on my own. Now I have the balance. I could take a couple of steps before I fall. Only thing I need your hand for is if I fall to help me get back up. That's the investment that we should be looking at. And even if you in your 30s, your 40s, and 50s, it's never too late to invest in yourself. We don't have to sit there and worry about, well, when I was 15, I was slapped around by John Doe or Jane Doe, or I was manipulated in the wrong aspect, or anything like that. You can overcome that because that is the investment that you should be seeking instead of the sacrifice that you're not willing. Sacrifice that memory to become a better version of yourself is what I'm saying, right? If you say, you know what, like I said, I lost my parents as teenagers. Now, if I was just to sit where I was at, I could not be here having this conversation with y'all. It has to be all right. I have to invest in myself. And when I invested in myself, I see that I believe that this is something that my parents would want for me. This is what they wanted for me in the first place, to be the person that I am. So in a way, because I sacrificed their them fit. I didn't sacrifice them physically, but the fact that I thought about them and understood that they was gone, I had no choice but to invest in myself. Right? That's how maybe that's how we should look at things. Because we don't have no choice, we might as well invest in ourselves because the sacrifice has taken place. There's so many people that gives up they selves for their children, but the investment is that your children become better than what you were at their ages, right? So it's the same way for each and every one of us as adults. I have to be a better version of myself instead of being the version that I once was, because it's holding me back from the greatness that I can be at this time right now. So the question is, do you want to make that up? Do you want to take that opportunity? Do you want to jump on that ship and say, you know what, I'm ready for the voyage to be the best version of myself? These are only questions and answers that you can have for yourself. And when you do that, and when you sacrifice that time to become that greater person, I know that the investment is going to pay off. The question is, if you go into it doubting yourself, well, it's not really a question. If you go into it doubting yourself, then you won't be able to achieve it because you already going into something with doubt. It's like overcoming a fear. I'm afraid of the dark. So just sit in the room and turn out all light, make it pitch black, and then see if you can withstand that fear. How long can you stand in that fear? And then when you continue to work on it, you see that you can defeat that fear, and now you can invest in something else that's holding you back. And this is and like I said, these are the things that we have to do going forward. These are the things that we must have in order to you know look at the investment and not just the sacrifice. Stop looking at what you're giving up in order to gain something. I've gained a lot over this past, what is it, year and a half now? Yeah, a year and a half on YouTube. I have found great people. I have found people that will take the opportunity to invest in me. So only way I can pay it back is to invest in somebody else. Now, if I was just worried about myself, I would be selfless. In order to invest in this type of situation, you have to be selfless. You have to be courageous. You have to be bold enough to say, you know what, that person is worth the investment. And I have to take some time to add to this person. You know, those are the things that we do in the investment stage as far as this aspect of life. Not even talking about financially, right? Because financially we can always do what we do best, right? We can come up, we can grind, we can do whatever. But I'm talking about in the aspect of investing in people, right? It don't take much to share alive, right? I, you know what I mean? My thing is, if it's going to help somebody, I'm hitting the share button ASAP, right? I'm coming to you because I know that you are able to invest in somebody, even if you may not see the message as such. I feel like I do, and I will share you out. And those are the things, like I said, I come from it from a different aspect, because I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I'm saying I see things from a different lens than everybody else. So, some that LA Project, has spoken about, I shared it out. Why? Because I think it would help somebody. Something that Realist has spoken about, I shared it out. Why? Because I think it'll help somebody. Something that Meek was spoken about, I shared. Why? Because I think it'll help somebody. Something that Word has said, I will share it out because I know it'll help somebody. When I know it'll help somebody, I don't have the problem of investing into said person. And it may, 30 seconds may not matter to nobody, but 30 seconds matter to me, because it shows that you are willing to take the time to listen to what the person is saying, to understand their message. And even if it wasn't meant to share out, sometimes we hold ourselves at liberty to share it out, because it may have been a personal testimony. And if we don't have that opportunity to reach out to the person, like, yo, I want to share this out. It's so many people that I want to share out, but I don't have the way to link up to them, like, yo, continue to be a blessing. I don't have that opportunity. So it's a lot of messages that I wasn't able to share because of that mind frame alone. I didn't reach them. And for whatever reason, people put things public but don't want nobody to share it. But they'll share the chaos and then want people to like it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not that type of person. I'm here to invest in people's coming up, to invest in their better versions of themselves. And because of that, I may be the odd duck. I may be the exception to the rule, so to speak. And I can live with that, because I know my consistency should be speaking of exactly what I'm saying and doing, right? So if somebody don't view me that way, I understand that. That's that person's individual rights or feelings. But I'm willing to sacrifice that one person's opinion to make sure that everybody else sees what I'm trying to invest in. And that's the ins and outs and the variations of being this content creator, or being yourself on an everyday level. Because the things that I'm saying here, I definitely do it off screen, as they would say, off site, right? Because that I know that's who I am. And because I know that's who I am, I don't have to hold nothing back. I don't have to keep nothing quiet, because I am who I am. That's who we set out to be anyway. I am who I am. And when you are who you are, you ain't got nothing but a growth that's coming ahead of you, if that's what you so desire. If you are right being I am who I am, then you ain't gonna say, I will be this next person. I would love to be that person. I am at the head of the table type situation. You're not going to do that if you like where you are already. But when you know you have the room to invest in yourself, you got to sacrifice that I am to I will. From I will to I shall. From I shall, I I'm striving for. Until you reach your destination, you gotta sacrifice that level you are to become the better version of yourself. That's the investment. So, I mean, I don't really, the link was up there. Anybody wanted to come up, they could feel free to do so. But I just wanted people to understand what the sacrifice and investment is for the religious aspect of the thing, right? If you are trying to draw near to God, you got to say, you know what, I'm a stop watching TV for this half an hour, even though that's my show. I'm gonna go ahead and look at what the scripture is going to tell me. Then I have to break it down. Then I have to apply it to my life. And if it works for me, the investment was worth my while. And now I'm going to continue to invest in said thing and not look at it as a sacrifice, but the investment of gaining. That's what most people invest for, is to gain. So when you give something up, your expectation of gaining in that investment is going to rise. So you're going to do the most to gain instead of losing. And so, like I said, that's just something that I really had to get off my chest. I know it's day one for a lot of people, and for those that are on that spiritual path with God through Christ. Last year I did do this. If you look at my shorts, about I left at least 40 different scriptures for you to see about the sacrifice and then the fasting portion of this season. You know, why did I do that? I saw that it worked for me, and I did gain from it. So I put it on display. So if it works for you, you can do that. I mean, I didn't know how to put it on a playlist or anything like that. That's why I said I'm still a babe in the YouTube streets. But if it works for you, go through the shorts, and it's already numbered, like day 2 of the fast, day 25 of the fast, day 40 of the fast, right? And if you need the assistance to go through the fast, I am here. I am proclaiming that out loud, right? If you need help with getting through this investment of becoming a spiritual person or becoming a better version of yourself, I am making myself available for you, to you, because I know that it's hard to do by yourself, but you need stops and advice to see if to confirm if you're going in that right direction. Hopefully, if you advise, if you do reach out to me, I can confirm that you're going in the right direction, right? I don't want nobody to be sidetracked with my commentary or whatever I give unto said person. I just want everybody to be the best version of themselves. So if I can help in any way, feel free to I don't care if you just you know, reach hit the community wall or whatever it is. I mean, however we gotta make it to where people, if you don't want people to know your business, we'll set it up to where we're in Instagram or things of that nature. So that way it's not for me, it's for you guys. I'm here to help you guys. It's not about, I don't want nobody to see that it's about me being right. It's about it being right, and if it's right, it's going to enhance you more than it could possibly enhance me, because it's all about you. I gain satisfaction because you become that better version, right? That's why, like I told you earlier, I can go with a better you is a better us, because if you improve, I'm improving, because you are the example of what happens when you take the proper steps in the investment instead of looking at the sacrifice. So I can actually, whether you understand it or not, you are actually becoming a leader in a way, because you are striving in the upward direction that everybody will want to be a part of. So of course somebody's going to view you differently, and if they're hating on you, they're going to hate on you regardless, right? So be the investment and not the sacrifice, right? Add to somebody's life and not take from their life. That's the best thing that I can give you going forward. So, like I said, it's day one for those followers of Christ. If you go about it that way, take the opportunity, decide what you're ready to give up, and then understand what you're investing in and strive for it. Just take it one day at a time, one step at a time. If you go about it that way, you will receive the investment that you are striving for. No ifs, ands, or buts. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be bumpy times in these next 40 days, or for those in Ramadan, 30 days. It doesn't mean that at all. If it was that smooth, guess what? Everybody would do it. You see what I'm saying? But when you have that sacrificial situation, don't look at it as a loss. Look at it as what you're going to gain. You're going to become a better Brooks, or you're going to become a better Scorpio, or you're going to become a better Word, or you're going to become a better Me, or whoever else is taking those steps and opportunities. You're going to become a better version of yourself. And when you become the better version of yourself, the investment is worth the sacrifice, right? So since I'm running out of words, and since nobody has anything else to say, I'm going to salute everybody that came through today. Um, Shout out to Meek, he came through. I saw Watermelon in here. I haven't seen her in so long. I hope she's all right. That's my peoples. We good people. I just hope everything is well with you. Like nobody has seen you in a long time. So I really do hope that everything is all right with you. LA Project, welcome in. I hope, this was something that, you saw, you know, I thank you for sacrificing your time to give me an opportunity to you know, be heard by you, right? BDB, what up, nine? Word, what up, nine? Rooks, welcome in once again. And like I said, those, I have to salute everybody. Realist, my guy. Uh, always score. I appreciate you. Young Riaz. Young Riaz is somebody like no matter what he's going through, right? He's willing to sacrifice whatever he's doing to make sure that you you are being received. That's one thing that I have learned from Riaz, right? And I know Riaz be all over the place. Riaz be in sectors that some of us will feel he should not even be in. But the fact that he's taking that risk, he's willing to sacrifice the I don't. It's gonna sound crazy, but the attacks that he goes through a lot of the times just to make sure that somebody like he's investing in somebody even in a place where he may be attacked at, I do commend him for that, right? And he's one of the reasons why I can say with true sincerity that he is truly a blessing because he may not understand what's going on around him, but he'll take those hits just to say, you know what, I do rock with you. I support what you, whatever you putting out there. And if I can add to it, even if I'm out of line, I'm willing to do so. So every time I see Riaz, I always ask him, are you okay, Riaz? How you feeling? Things of that nature. Like we have an understanding, like we don't verbally speak to each other. But when you have that discernment, you understand what another person is going through. Why? Because that person has invested in you. And sometimes when you invest, it comes full circle. That's the relationship that actually happens when when it comes to these type of situations. What up though?
Man, you about 10 minutes too late. I'm just talking
I
crap.
I, I ain't seen
Mm.
nothing. I was over here going. I ain't seen nothing. What up though?
So the blindness rubbed off on you too. You see, you can't talking to Gary. Man. You can't use that excuse. That's mine.
What is that though?
Oh, give me
I
go
ain't
ahead. Keep
blind.
talking. What was that?
I ain't blind. I ain't say that. I'm just saying I was flowing. I didn't even look. Like I said, that's why I was going through the chat. I didn't even see certain people come in, so I was just greeting everybody and I was just talking. But what up though? Riaz is Riaz. That's what I'm saying. Meek, when you have that genuineness around you, like it's like I don't see how people don't have that other option but to invest in somebody like Riaz, right? It's not that you it's not like you feel sorry for him. It's like, yo, you just want the best for him, if that makes any sense. Like that's me with everybody. That's just me genuinely with everybody. It's not about me worrying about the person being harmed. It's that you just want the best for everybody. So you would invest that time into seeing the best in other people than looking at them at their worst. Right? That's the sacrifice. You remove yourself so somebody else can see the best version of themselves. And when that happens, you become, I don't know. It Do I worry about being taken advantage of? Of course, who doesn't? But the reward outweighs the risk. So the investment outweighs the sacrifice. So that's how I can go about doing things in that manner and fashion. Because if I go about it that way, then if I go about it the opposite way, I think it'll hold me back from being who I am supposed to be. if that makes any sense with anybody. So, like I said, I just, you know, it's just about who you are and what you trying to be, right? If like I could see, like we all have an understanding that we see it in other people, but they gotta want to see it in themselves.
Yeah, my bad, bro. You know my house.
Now go ahead.
My wife.
I
My
know
wife.
what it is.
My wife Middle Eastern, so my house be loud.
Okay,
But
now you want to blame it on you want.
no, she'll tell you she loud. Like she's like, I always speak loud. Like I know. Like yeah, and like we, like you talk. We be right next to each other. You talking like we 20 miles away. Like dang. But nah. Every time like with words, bro. That's my thing. I enjoy words, and like the more you really look at the word, especially when you get into the etymology of the word, you realize it's used out of context a lot. And if you I'm gonna do a show on the power of word to talk about the process and what it like the potential of words, like what it actually does. But like
Mm,
when we use sacrifice, I just feel most people use it out of context because when you say 9 times out of 10 people look at it as like I'm losing something, like you were saying earlier, like it's something I'm losing. But in all actuality, if you're replacing it with something that's beneficial, if you removing something that's detrimental and replacing it with something beneficial, that's an investment. Because it's things in our life that's holding us stagnant, right? It's literally weighing us down, and it's not is preventing or eliminating the room for the positive things that we can have in our lives. And when people think of losing, like what you was saying earlier with the relationship aspect, you invested all this time, you think like, oh, now if I don't make it work, I'm losing. No, that person, that negative person is taking up space so the right person can come in. So shedding that is actually an investment. Anytime you gain something, unless you have the space, you have to remove something anytime. So a lot of
mm,
times, even like with the Ramadan, I mean, and the subconscious, I mean, it's so many variables involved. So like anytime we use the term sacrifice is always associated with something negative, right? Is a negative connotation. That's the conception of the word. That's just the frequency the word produced. Sacrifice means loss. Something is lost. But if you're gaining
mhm,
something, is it truly lost? What did you lose if you're gaining? Especially if it makes you a better version. Like my old ways, right? I don't feel I sacrificed them, but I had to invest into myself. So I had to remove things that was not beneficial. It was my way of thinking, my way of being. It was a lot of stuff I had to change. The people I was around, the environments I was in, all that stuff that is not a sacrifice because what I gained off of shedding all that. It's like a snake, man.
mhm,
When a snake shed its skin, is it a sacrifice? No, it's just making room because it's getting bigger, it's growing. So it has to shed that skin is holding it, it's preventing it from growing. So it has to shed that skin. So in
mhm,
life in general, I had to learn like these environments I was putting myself in. I had to shed that skin to put myself in better environments. But to put myself in better environments, I had to be a better person. How do I be a better person? There's a lot of different things. Not only do I have to do things better, but if I keep putting myself around the people who wasn't good for me, I'm not gonna be able to apply those new qualities.
mhm,
It's like when a person, I'll say you like when a black person speaks proper, and someone tells them, "Oh, you're speaking white," right? You know how that feels? Like when a person like, damn, I'm just trying to do the right thing, but you making me feel bad about it because I'm educating myself. I'm learning bigger words. My vernacular is getting more extensive. I'm understanding the structure of sentence. It's not even
mhm,
speaking proper. It's just using words in the right context. Now people think that's pronunciation of words. That's not that's white. You see what I'm saying? Like that always confused me. Like, how is speaking proper talking white? Yeah, we got ebonics or whatever, but at the same time, grammar is grammar. White people didn't create that, but we
Mm.
tell ourselves that. And guess what? People will sacrifice. Now that's a sacrifice. People will stop doing that because they don't want their black card taken. They feel
Hmm.
ashamed because they're using proper grammar. That's a sacrifice. But what's an investment is not to listen to those people and keep doing what you're doing, keep bettering yourself. That's an investment.
I agree with that, but maybe it's just like it's you were saying how it should be natural for us to constantly invest in ourselves, but we're so worried about what we may lose that we're not willing to lose that. It's like people say they don't like to settle for less, but if they don't work on themselves, do they not understand that they settling for less because there's so much greatness in each and every one of us, right? But there's the understanding that you know it may be too much work, so people will rather sit where they are or be met where they at, and like I don't they're not willing to lose that in order to invest in themselves, if that makes any sense, and I don't think people understand that logic to that extent, even though sacrifice has the results of gaining. In reality, that's why I came out like, don't look at it as you just losing. If you look at it, if you gaining something, then you won't just look at the losing aspect. I gave the analogy of the prenup. So if you get a prenup before you married, you already saying that there's a you're more worried about getting divorced than maintaining the marriage. If you go about it without the prenup, you're focused on like, all right, I don't need a prenup because this is going to last forever. But when you start worrying about losing your investment, you putting your investment at risk. I don't think people really understand that aspect.
Oh no, LA, that's what I was saying. Yeah, exactly what you just said. I think it's the other way. Investment is to expand vocabulary, sacrifice, and to flow under peer pressure. That's exactly what I'm saying. That was exactly what I was saying. So, like, it's people who do like. I'm gonna speak from my own perspective. When I was younger, I used to feel like that, so I wouldn't use my full vernacular. Right? I say something like sultry. They was like, "What is sultry?" I'm like, "Oh, it means hot." They was like, "Oh, you using them?" When you were a kid, you susceptible to that. But as I got older, it depends the crowd. But even on my channel, like I say a word, and if people want to delineate or go dive deeper into it, we do it. But I'm like now, I don't do it. Like I use my vernacular. People don't understand it, and I just take the time to explain it. You know. But no, I agree with what you're saying 100%. We should like I always implore people like check this out. It's apps where it give you a new word a day. That's how I expanded my vernacular. That's how I started, building my vernacular. You take the word, if it's useful to you, then you use it. If it's not, at least you know the meaning of it. So if you hear it, you understand what it is. But that's how you start expanding your vernacular. I mean, back in the day, we had to go into the dictionary. I was in encyclopedias, but now it's at the tip of our hand. They got apps to make everything easy. So it's the simple investment. It's a free app, a word a day. That's an easy investment. But do we do that? I know I do. Even to this day, I've been doing that for the last 12 years. That's how long this app been around, bro. 12 years. Before that, it was the dictionary. It was the thesaurus, using those. But yeah, that's definitely a different audience. I can speak so I don't get boxed. And that's the thing too. You got to be in life, right? Is this is what I learned in life. You have to be adaptable. You should have different mindsets available to yourself. It's like a utility
Mm-hmm.
belt. You know how Batman got the utility belt, he got all these different tools he can use at his disposal. You never know what situation you might be in when an opportunity presents itself. So, like people call it code switching or whatever. You call it what you will, right? When you know your audience, then you know how to uh, project or convey your thoughts to them. And if you in an area where you have to, uh, like for instance, like I worked in the medical field for 15 years. Half of those conversations is medical terminology. You walk in there, you won't know what the hell we're saying, but I can have those conversations. I worked in real estate and in life insurance. So when I get around people and they start talking about different forms of investment, I can indulge in those conversations. I know the vernacular. It's a whole different vernacular for all these different aspects of life, man. And if you just one way, that's you, that's fine. But I would tell people, encourage people to expand. Life got so much to offer. You shouldn't box yourself in. You should define who you are and not let society's stereotypes and prototypes define who you are. You can write your own story. People, it's an investment though. Like we saying, it's an investment. What up, young Rhea?
Hold on,
Mm,
Riaz. Rooks, thank you. Hold on, Riaz. Rooks, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking the time to invest in what I'm saying. I appreciate you. I know you got to go to work. I just wanted to say that real quick. Go ahead, Riaz.
yeah, I get you on what you mean. Also, pretty much the stereotypes defining stuff like that. For me, though, like when it comes to my accent, some people, though, when I came back to the UK, people thought I was American because I spoke in the way, like how basically the way you speak, though, right? Basically, though, I started using American words and the way Americans spoke. Some people in the UK thought I was American, though. But then I had to relearn their accent again. So sometimes do I have the accent, sometimes I don't. I have a unique blend between the both.
Hmm.
And
So
and
how do
looking at,
you?
I'm sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So how?
So
So Riaz, how do you
sorry.
think that works? I
It was
since you invested in
it,
that, do you think it's working? Like, is it adding to who you are becoming, or do you feel like it's not helping you by what you're
no, it's
saying?
helping. No, it helps though because though it actually gets me to actually understand other people's speaking patterns though. Because basically from where I'm from in the area in the UK, so when I grew up in London, people there are known for speaking fast. So basically I learned to speak fast, but then I also know that when I come up here and when I talk to you, I have to learn how to slow down and stuff like that. So just, I have to learn how to basically, do that. Learn when to speak quickly and when to speak in a kind of slower manner so you can understand what I'm saying. But you can understand me either way.
Hmm.
Now, let me show you something, Riz. Now you can contest to this because you speak multiple languages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with those languages, they have different ideologies, meaning like you have concepts within that language that don't clearly translate over to other languages. Like when I speak my native tongue, it's more descriptive. So it's harder to explain in English what I'm actually saying. You see what I'm saying? Like my
Yeah.
what is that word in Arabic? It means like it means like they say it with the intent to show how cute a baby is. But when you translate it into English, it means I'm gonna eat your butt. What is the name of that damn? But that's how language works. But the benefit of learning different languages, and not even just languages, but learning different dialects within the language, it brings a whole new ideology, a new perspective,
Mm-hmm.
a way to look at things. And if you,
Yeah.
the more ways you learn how to speak within dialect and language, the wider your perception of life becomes. Yeah, I can relate to someone in the hood. You know why? Because I understand what they're trying to convey to me. I understand when they speaking from emotion or when they speaking from thought because I speak it. I know it. I understand it. I can understand if a person is
Thank you for
speaking.
calling the Levittown.
Oh,
Oh,
I grew up
sorry.
on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's alright though, man. I got what you mean, though.
People in general. Right, Ellie, that's what I'm saying. Like the more you know a person's, I would say dialect, right? Because we all speak in English in America, but when you go to different parts of the country, it's a different dialect. And those words have a different ideology. So I may say something up north. I'm in Detroit. I can say what up my baby to a dude, right? And they'd be like, "What up, though? It's cool. It's like it's no, you say that to somebody else, they'd be like, hold on, bro, you calling me a baby? You calling me this? You call like, nah, bro, that ain't, so." But when you understand different dialect, you understand what's acceptable and what's not too. A lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you when you say "what up, baby" to a guy, you already know.
yeah,
It's, it's like, wait a minute, no Diddy, no that. Like, I'm
yeah,
not even
bro.
meaning that. Like, it gets to the point to where you can't even tell a dude you love them. You gotta say "I love you," pause or something to that. Like, nah, that's not like we have a tendency of how would you say diluting things, and that takes away from a lot of situation. It actually causes more harm than it does help at particular times. Because if you like, it's bad enough men don't tell each other how they feel, but when you do, you're going to be attacked or crucified about it. Then it's going to keep a mouth closed, and you're not even going to know how a person really feels because people attack you for that from that aspect, and that's not never a good thing.
Yeah, LA, yeah, but I'm telling you, I ran into that issue a lot on the internet. It's like the way I talk is a little different from the way other people talk. But I think it's important, like, because we come, like, we on the internet, so we all in one space, but we come from different areas. So a lot of times, I'm just speak from my own personal perspective. A lot of times, it's better to ask for clarity than to jump to an assumption. Especially like if you don't know a person, it's just better to ask for clarity. Even if you know the person at times, it's just best to ask for clarity. And that way you have understanding. People, but oh, people lie. Okay, well, we know that, but it's not about what other people do, it's about what you do. You keep practicing being a better version of yourself no matter what people do around you. Bro, people do so much unscrupulous shit around me, bro. I don't feed into that energy. I used to be one of the people that used to say this, and then I'm gonna tell you who corrected me. My mama, right? My mama corrected me, but I used to always say this: I'm gonna give you the same energy you give me. And my mama was like, "But what if that energy ain't good for you?" And now, because a person ain't feeling, a person ain't confidence in themselves, a person ain't feeling good about themselves and they want to put something on you. Now you go change who you are to be like them, to give them back their energy. She was like, that's the difference between power and strength. And you taught me that. And I'm like, you're right. We can't allow other people to dictate who we are or what we are. But a lot of times these interactions, especially on the internet, it has that potential, right? Because I was caught up in that a couple weeks ago. Like I ain't gonna make no excuse. I felt some type of way. Dude was talking about my character and my business, and I went in. And then I later on thought, like, man, who is this dude? And normally I do that from the onset, but it was a lot of stuff going around, so I had to take that into account. Okay, if I got this stuff going on, guess what? I'm vulnerable. I'm vulnerable to people's bullshit. I'm not on my game, so I need not to interact with people when I got this going on at home you know? So, I mean, you make adjustments, but you have to take accountability and be aware of that.
Yeah, that's the
Mhm.
that's the thing that I was just telling everybody that sometimes because you have to be in the world, you know you you put yourself of it, right? So you get conflicted with certain things, right? You can't eh, just because you're willing to invest in yourself, it doesn't mean it's going to be a smooth transition, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to mean that everybody's going to get the same thing that you do, because if that was the case, everybody would be doing it, right? So if everybody was to invest a quarter and get $1 out of it, like everybody will be doing that. But because they so worried about the risk, they won't even make the attempt to invest. They'll rather sit on the coin instead of you know taking the risk, just because they know they have that coin. So I think that aspect, it reaches out to everybody, because they're so worried about, well, I got to worry about what the world think. Nah, you got to worry about how you are, because at the end of the day, you got to live with yourself. Even if I end this live right now, You got to live with whatever you got out of the conversation. If you didn't receive anything, you didn't receive anything. If you did, you did. But then you either going to apply it or not. But that's your decision because you got to live with whatever you invest in yourself with. And that's what I want everybody to understand.
There's more dumb folks in this world than smart folks.
I don't believe that. I just think people. I think there's a lot of intelligent people, but sometimes you dumb yourself down just to fit in. So in other words, you lose yourself. You sacrificing just to fit in. You're not even gaining. The only thing you're gaining is that you're fitting in. You see what I'm saying? But you can't keep doing that. Like if you do that for everybody, you got to understand you're losing yourself. You're not gaining anything. You're gaining a false friendship because you just reaching out for people that you want to be liked by, and that's not how we should be living. Your words are your words. People are either going to embrace you or not embrace you. That's just something that you have to live with. But you gotta take the good with the bad when you invest in yourself, and not just worry about who or what you're losing. There's seasons and reasons for people coming in and out your life, but that's the part of the investment stage. All right, I outgrew this person. Oh, that person outgrew me. It doesn't mean that they don't care about you. It doesn't mean that they don't respect you. You just outgrew the person. You might speak to them 10 years down the line, but it's all about the individual. If the individual felt like you just stopped talking to them for whatever reason, then they're gonna, even though your intent was to grow, sometimes your intent don't trump somebody's feeling, but that may not have been your purpose. But that happens as you continue to invest in yourself. That's why you got to understand the pros and the cons of investing. Like what he said, what Word is saying, that if you look at sacrifice, there's not like you only losing because that's what everybody sees. They don't go down the definition and say, you know what, you gaining something because the first five definitions is telling you you're losing something. You're killing. Killing is losing. So they only see that part. But if that's why his aspect is, if you look at it from the investment part instead of the sacrifice, you can see it in a clearer light than what you do today.
Yeah, I don't really look at too many things as sacrifices.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like the power of the concept of the word, because the word, when you think of a word, it builds a concept of understanding, right? So that understanding the concept is how you approach whatever activity you get involved in. So if you constantly thinking like I'm sacrificing, that's what you go focus on. But if you look at something as an investment, investments pay off for long term and short term. So like working on yourself, learning new words a day might not help you today, but it'll help you next week. You never know where you might be where you can use this word and I ain't gonna and make a good impression on people. I'm not gonna say impress people, but you make a good impression. You never know. A concept. Like I know so much stupid shit, but then it come up out the blue and then I get indulged in conversation with people. Now I'm building a bridge. Now that one stupid concept that I thought was useless then gave me an opportunity to meet this person and now this person has a resource that I can utilize. You know how many times that happened to me? Like people talking about, I walked in the store and this dude was talking about Pokemon cards, and I just said, "Man, I got a charge." I started naming. He was like, "Oh, for real? I got this." He was like, "Oh, what you do? Real estate, man. I helped this boy's son buy a house just off talking about Pokemon cards." That would never happened though. I would have never helped him, and then I got three more referrals off of him, off his son. So talking about Pokemon cards opened up opportunities for me.
Mm,
Like little
that just
sensitive
goes.
stuff. You just never
Mhm.
really know, who you might meet and how you can relate to them and how you can possibly benefit them or they can possibly benefit you. So, I mean, that's just in the world of business. I that whole ideology, that concept of networking didn't come until I got into that field. And then you learn how to do it. You know what I'm saying? You
Mhm.
learn different
Right.
skills, and you can take those skills and apply them in different aspects of life. So one thing can build you up to benefit you in other places in life. So this is why it's important to become a better version of yourself. Try to learn something or do something new every day. Expand to yourself. You know, this world got a lot to offer. It's just if we take advantage of it.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, you don't know what you invested in, but somewhere down the line it will be useful. It'll connect you to something else to where you can invest. It's like branding, right? You branding yourself to be a a a, a person of understanding. Now you get into a conversation with somebody that deals with sports. You can bridge those two together and still understand that the investing part of the situation is always room for growth. When you don't have that opportunity to grow and things become stagnated, you kill the momentum and dreams of certain situations, and that's the worst sacrifice. That's the worst thing to do. That's not even a sacrifice. That's just straight losing because there's no possibility of gaining when you stagnate yourself. Whether it's growing in a relationship, growing in any aspect. That's the concept, or that's the result of not you know understanding where you're going with your situations and yourself. You stagnate yourself, and then you just roaming in the proverbial wilderness. You just aimlessly alive and not having a concept, a dream, a goal, or anything. So you just roaming aimlessly. I don't, for me, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I mean, we do see it, but I can't, you got to be willing to accept the embracement of somebody wanting to invest in you instead of just looking at it as a concept of somebody's trying to be nosy. But a lot of us see the nosy side instead of, hey, this person may add to me, they may improve me, they may help me, and so they shield themselves off and want to stay in the wilderness when you got you know opportunities for them to be hydrated and lack not lack of thirst, but they rather be where they at sometimes. That's a tough thing for somebody, like to really sit there and observe that. You know what I mean? It's like a homeless person. If you go there and the person is not willing to accept it, it's hard for you. Like I mean, some people like, all right, that's your loss, mother father. But at the same time, like I really wanted to help this person, but if they are where they are, there's nothing you can really do about that. But be your consistent self. If you start wavering, people are going to look at you differently. You know what I mean?
Now check this out. I was sitting back listening to you, and I think I found a more concise way to articulate, my concept of investment and sacrifice. Right? So when you can't sacrifice something if it's of no value, right? That's what a sacrifice is. Like the animals were of value. That's why they sacrificed them to God. So sacrifice is to sacrifice something that has to have value, meaning you're losing value. So if it's things in your life that's not valuable that you lose, it's not a sacrifice. It's simply you're investing, you're replacing it with something that is of value. Is that is that better? Like the difference between the two concepts.
Yeah, I understand that concept loud and clear. But I had already added that to the sacrifice meaning. That's why when we had the conversation, I'm like, all right, I get what you're saying. I had already added that to the sacrifice because you got to lose the gain. You see what I'm saying? You lost that value of the animal, but you're gaining a better perspective of what the higher power is calling for you to do in your life in that possibility. So I had already known that. So you gotta lose the gain. That aspect is always going to be part of the investment, right? But I had already known that for the sacrifice. But when you look at the meaning sacrifice, like I said, the first few words is you losing. So when you lose, you don't see the aspect of gaining anything because it's already losing. Like, all right, I lost. Like people like right, I give you an example, right? If you play a game, right? They're gonna tell you there's no such thing as a moral victory. You either lose or you win. You see what I'm saying? So If you go about it that way, your purpose of learning from your mistakes don't even matter. You see what I'm saying? Like, okay, I know I was supposed to block the ball, but I just let him shoot it. Now, next time I play him, I'm gonna block the ball. But if you go by, there's no such things as moral victories. That means you taking away the fact that you learned something even in a defeat. You don't really learn something in a winning aspect because you won. Your way worked, right? Some people not even going to look and see how to improve themselves because they already won. They're not going to improve themselves, right? But if you take the moral victory, you can say, all right, I'm gonna turn this moral victory into a great victory. If that makes any sense to anybody, you see what I'm saying? So we got to stop looking at things from a different aspect. And we have to agree that if we apply certain aspects into our life, if it works, you tried it worked. If it didn't work, you tried it didn't work. But you gotta try the concept to see if it works for the individual. You can't just
And,
push it away or shun it off or things like that.
and see, I like to challenge shit, bro. I'm gonna even challenge the concept that you can even sacrifice to God. I don't believe you can. Because if you give him something up to get closer to God, how is that the sacrifice? That's an investment. That's the definition of investment to me. I'm getting some rid of something that's not needed to make place for something that is needed. So that concept itself, I don't think, just like free will, I don't think that should apply to God. I don't think sacrifice and God go together. You can't sacrifice for God. You can't unless you selfish and God doesn't
Uh,
have value to you.
But
That's
you're
the
gonna
only
have to
way, in my
elaborate on
opinion.
that because you that was I think I don't think people can grasp or understand what you
If
meant
you
by that.
Because if you feel you're losing something of value to God, then that shows the value of God to you. Because, like, I'll give you an example. My kids, right? If I see my kids need something and I want something, what my kids need is way more valuable. So I don't look at that me sacrificing for my kids. I can't ever sacrifice for, even if I lose my life, bro. That's not a sacrifice to my kids. That's an investment so they can live. Like I'm saying, this concept we apply to the wrong things. And that's what's detrimental to us. This shit is all I'm telling you, bro. These words are spells. They put yourself to sleep by applying concepts to things that don't go together. Sacrifice in your family, sacrifice in God. That's not a sacrifice. You doing something for the benefit of yourself or other people is not a sacrifice. So if it's me letting go of all these fleshly things so I can get closer to God, that's not a sacrifice. I'm shedding the skin I didn't need. That's an investment. I'm losing this weight so I can become lighter. If God is up and all these material things are down, that's what's weighing us down. In life, bro, people put materials things over human life. People will rob somebody over some gym shoes and unalive them, bro, because they feel the
Hmm.
shoes are more valuable than this person's life is wearing. So they willing to take that life to get them shoes. The material world holds us down. That's why they say we born into sin because we flesh, bro. We want to enjoy the things here. And that's fine. We supposed to. That's how we expand consciousness. It's just how you go about it, bro. You should not
Mm.
sacrifice because that's what it becomes. Now, when we do the opposite, to give things up to get to God, that's the investment. But to accept things to get further away from God, that's the sacrifice. Because these things only have temporary, minuscule temporary meaning. You get a new
Mm.
pair of shoes, you be fresh for a week or two, and then, now you want another pair. It's something new always coming up. God
Mm.
is eternal. God always been God. God ain't new. God always been
Right.
God, man. That ain't changing. But all this other stuff changed. So the value decreases. God's value can never decrease.
No, because if you look at it from that perspective, you can't sacrifice for God because He doesn't change, but you are changing, right?
Hmm.
So if you are changing, aren't you losing some of yourself?
Mm-mm.
You're not
How you
losing.
losing when you
Okay,
see?
so let me ask you
See,
a question then, right?
uh,
If you're born into sin, right? I'm gonna speak from the religious aspect, right? If you're born into sin, and if you're drawing to God, if you are investing in God, aren't you losing the sinful nature of yourself because you're drawing to God?
but you born
Is that
into
not
it.
a sacrifice? But
No,
if you're
you born.
losing it,
I.
good.
But is it yours in the first place to lose, or is this something that was given to you? Is this something that was given to you, or is this that is sin divine? Only thing that we receive into this world is divinity. What we gain is sin, and that's through participation. We only sin when we do it. If Jesus Christ died for all our sins, the only way we can sin is if we commit the action. So
Hmm.
just because we're born into a world of sin, that's what it actually states. We're born into the world of sin. When they translated, you're born into sin. Same concept. It's just an
But if you are
interpretation of
born,
it.
but isn't but if you are born into a thing, right? Aren't you to live in it? Like for example, if you was born into the world, you got to live in it, right? So that world is already infested with whatever, whatever, whatever. But that does not mean you have to conform to it. So that takes
Exactly.
you from a different space from somebody. So you have to lose it because that's what you gain first. You gain what you're born into, right? So let's just say, for example, you don't know who you are, right? And your parents tell you you're black or you're white or you're whatever. So you're going through life believing or knowing that that's what you are because that's what you was told. So
But
in order to gain the truth, you must sacrifice the thing that you hold to be who you are, right? So let's just say now a lot of people, for example, a lot of people may not know that the indigenous people were black. I'm just going somewhere with the y'all bear with me, right? So you don't know that the indigenous people were black. You're gonna think the opposite until you go ahead and deep dive into that situation. And when you deep dive, you see like, okay, we're not one of the same, but we are the same cloth. So now I am who I am. So now you might not you might want to stop acting like you're black or African American, and now you may become indigenous. You're not going to roll the two into one because they don't blend. You see what I'm saying? So you got to lose one to become the other. You got to sacrifice one to become the other. Even though you may think it's an investment, you got to lose that to become who you are supposed to be. What do you say to that?
you is the concept of loss, right? Is applied, and like I said, something can only be lost if it's of value, of more value than what you gain. It can't be a loss if it's less of value of what you gain. It just can't be. If you have $1 and I give you five, did you lose money or gain money?
Well, in your example, I gained because I didn't give you the dollar. You gave me five.
I gave you five. So
But I
even
didn't
if you
lose
say
because. But what I'm
you
saying is,
don't,
I didn't lose anything because I didn't give you a dollar. I
people
have
don't
six instead
actually.
of five.
What you can't lose is experience. What changes is perspective of the experience. So whatever you gain on this world, you don't actually lose it. Even if you change your ways, right? Like I
Mm.
changed the person that I am, but guess what? I still have that. What I did is what I did. That's still experience. I can't lose it. Only thing I can do is change the perspective of it. So whatever you come into the world and gain, even if like from your example, in the back of your mind, you still go be African American. You may be practicing indigenous life, but you still have an aspect. That's still a part of you. Experience does not, you don't lose experience. What you gain is perspective. So anything you experience in life, even sin, if you repent, it don't take away the action of the sin you did. You still did it. And the reason, and you need all of that. You know why? Because you see how far, like the person I was, I need that to remind me of why I am the way I am today. I can look back and see how far I've grown. But if I lose that, I can't look back no more. It's gone. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
It's
Yeah, I hear
gone.
you.
It's gone. But it's not a loss or a gain. Loss is lost. It's not there no more. So even when we sacrifice, when we change our ways, we still need them old ways to remind us of why we still doing what we doing now. People forget why you think that saying is so profound? You don't forgot where you came from. Because when people sacrifice, now we use that term, people sacrifice who they were for who they are. Some of them old habits will
So
come back, man.
yeah, so see, like even in that logic, right? So when people say you forgot where you came from, what do most people what is their response?
It
They
depends on the
gotta prove that
individual.
they didn't lose it. They gotta prove that they didn't lose it, right? So they gotta prove that they didn't become better by sacrificing where they came from. You see what I'm saying? It,
But that's on the
it it's
individual.
a
Because some
simple,
people,
it's yeah, it's an individual. That's what I'm saying. It's an individual basis. I know that we speak to a large amount of people. That's why we have to always preference these conversations into an individual basis, right? Because if we say that everybody's the same, we be telling a story. We be lying to them because everybody's different and unique. Like realist is not Realist is not Gary, and Gary is not Word, and Word is not Riaz, and Scorp is not LA Project, and LA Project ain't. You see what I'm saying? It's always going to be on an individual basis. The goal, the goal of the conversation, and it's a beautiful conversation, is to have everybody to see that there are different ways and concepts of people developing to who they become, but you have to invest in yourself in order to understand the diversity of the situations. If you don't invest in yourself, you'll be sacrificing yourself with the common understanding of what you already know, and that's not a good aspect for anybody, to be honest. But I'm gonna say for the majority of people, because I understand that there's an exception to the rules for some people, not everybody, but for some.
mm, but even that concept, like what you said, it was the sacrifices you going back to prove, you know. And that's what I had to learn the hard way. People said that, oh, you ain't this no more, you ain't that. No, okay. And I showed them, but it set me back from what I was from it made my investment a sacrifice because I done put all this time in on the right thing, and it just took an instant for me to do the wrong thing and set me back. So all that time and effort I put in was it was for nothing at that point. But it gave me the blueprint to get back to where I was. And then I understood what the actual sacrifice was. It wasn't me proving to these people that I'm still this. It was me um, losing what I became. So,
No, I mean, I don't disagree. Like I understand the concept. In some ways, two things can be true, right? So there's no disagreement with the idea and the logic of where you're coming from. For me, it's a better way to just simplify the concept of what a sacrifice really is, right? It just enlightens people why the loss is important for me, right? Because like I said, if you just see it as a sacrifice, right, you're not really looking at it to where, all right, for example, I'm giving up my time to be closer to God. That's the first thing you say. Now, if you say it from the investment side. I'm giving up my time in order to get closer to God, right? So you understand, I'm investing my time to get closer to God. You're not looking at it as a loss. You're saying, all right, I'm valuing my time. A sacrifice, you may not value anything because it's just you losing, right? And because you just losing, there's no aspect of gaining. Is that what you're trying to tell everybody today?
So what I'm trying to tell everybody is to understand value itself.
Okay.
Because once a person, because that's the whole key. Like even like you said, I'm sacrificing my time. What what you're saying is your time is more valuable than what you have the potential to gain because you're sacrificing, you're losing. So if I look like I'm investing time into someone and I'm not losing, it's not a sacrifice, it's an investment. Because the
Hmm.
time that I'm investing, I know it will be beneficial. It has value. The time I put into this has value. You know, I might not see it right away, but I know there's value coming. So it becomes an investment. Now, if you don't know what's going to come of the time, then now you're losing. So that's when it
But
becomes sacrifice. That's what I'm saying. Like these concepts are applied to the wrong things. If you believe
yeah,
God is the most important thing, there's nothing you can lose from giving to God. There's nothing if that's how you feel. But if you
okay.
unaware, if you value things more than God, if you value those sheep, if you value the grain, whatever they were sent to burn, if they value that more than God, then it becomes a sacrifice. Because look, I'm giving this up and I don't know what I'm getting in return. So
But isn't that the
like when
concept?
you understand when even like when you understand the writings, right? People use I understand why they use that concept because they didn't know God. They didn't know what they was gonna get. So it was a
Right.
sacrifice because these are the things they value. So
So so
it's an allegory parable to teach. And that's what it was
mhm.
teaching, but people didn't convey the message because after a while they didn't look at it as a sacrifice. It was just simply an investment. I do this and God go bless me. They knew that now. Once you know it, then
but
there's nothing to do.
but this is why it's a sacrifice to me, right? Because if you don't know, for example, a first time believer, right? A first time believer turns around and says, you know what? Let me give this a shot. They don't know what they're gaining back. I think a lot of people don't know what they're gaining back from the concept. That's why it's always going to be a sacrifice for a lot of people. You are, we have to understand when we have the understanding of it. Yes, that's the investment part because we know that the return is going to come. So what if the person doesn't know that that return is coming back to them? They just believe it and not know it. Is that considered a sacrifice then?
Well, it's a once you accept it as a sacrifice, it's a sacrifice. Now let me ask you this. Like you even the concept first time believer that they don't know when they don't see the results right away, then what do they think? It didn't work. A believer, a person with faith, they go do it and not worry about it, not think about it. They just go move on. They know they blessed and coming. So it's always
No,
like once you accept it as something, then that's what it is. You took a loss. If you say I sacrifice, you're telling yourself, your subconscious, that you're taking a loss. You're losing something. That's what you're telling yourself. So that's what when you see the evidence of what you're telling yourself, then you will agree. So if you pray for something and it don't come right away, it didn't come. Like even think about Wild Heart. God never showed himself to me. Because if God did, you wouldn't even know it, bro. You already
I
accepted
think
that God don't.
I
You know
think
what
he
I'm saying?
do. I just think he's stubborn. You see what I'm saying? I
Man, you
think
better
he
watch some
did.
more of
I
his
think
stuff. Nah, it
so
ain't.
he's coming. So what I'm saying is, if that's the case, he's coming over here to what, perpetrate a fraud or just be in the way.
Validate,
He's telling somebody.
validate
Because
it,
he
validate
can't
itself.
he can't he can't validate himself to a bunch of people that is opposing of what he's doing. That's not a
Agreed.
validation. You look silly when you like people gonna say you look like real you look like the odd duck because
Dude,
over on that side people is going to accept that there's something wrong with you because there's an understanding of there being a God, right? It don't matter if he's Allah, Jesus, Buddha, whoever it is. Your concept is out the norm, so you're gonna be the odd duck. So you could never get validated for that because there's five people with five different uh, 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 higher powers, but they all understand that there is a higher power. You, as a matter of fact, you embracing them to be more correct and actually bonding them so those five different aspects to the one concept that there is a God. So you're not validating anything from that concept. You see what I mean?
and that's what I appreciate about you. That's what I love about you so much, bro. You think highly of everybody. You give people benefit of the doubt. That dude was just on live snorting coke in front of his mama, bro. Online. Like it may be silly to you, but to him, bro. Like
No, it's
it's
not. It's
really
but no. What I'm saying is, it's not about being silly. Like for him, it's not about being silly. Like
that
he
boy is
has no. He's not
genuine, bro.
look. He's not doing either. He's not sacrificing or investing. He's existing. He's existing. Just that alone. He falls off this concept wholeheartedly. Right?
But
You either
that's
doing one for the
crazy.
other or other for one. He has no concept of either. That's why he's the odd duck. That's why, as much compassion that a person of love can have, even that person of love will say he's a lost cause. That much I know for sure. He can't be
Yeah,
saved.
man.
He got to save
I'm
himself.
straight.
You can see the perception, you can see it, but if he don't see it, it don't mean a hill of beans. If you think something like you may hold high regard for somebody, right? But if they don't see it, you're gonna be saddened by it, but you're just gonna keep an eye on them, make sure they don't harm themselves. That's all you can do with Wild
That's
Heart,
all you can
because
do,
that
bro.
don't make no damn sense, right? If you feel like you don't
That
have
shit
no
crazy.
value to yourself, I can't even be around you. So somebody tells, okay, God forbid, knock on wood, Wild Heart harmed himself to the most extreme. Ain't nobody gonna be surprised. It may hurt you because
It'd
he
be
didn't
sad,
see
bro.
anything in himself, but that's all it's going to do. It is going to be like a momentary thing. Why? Because he didn't know that he had a greatness in him, because he never invested in himself, because he didn't want to sacrifice what the hell he was doing. He didn't want to lose, but he didn't want to gain either. So he rather lose than anything. So that's a difference. Like he just existed. Like he's just different. Like I'll have a conversation with him, to see if he can add to the conversation in some way, shape, or form. That's why, people say you can learn from, like that commercial would say, you can learn a lot from a dummy. A dummy can't speak. That dummy in the car couldn't speak, but you got to learn you learn from it, right? So you can add value to a conversation, but if you don't understand that you're not adding value to yourself, nobody's going to take you seriously. And that's where he is with him. You know, that's where he's at. But for everybody else, you know what I mean? You can see something in somebody. You've seen things in people. You've given people opportunities, right? Do you consider that a sacrifice if they don't reach their potential, or do you
No,
see that as an investment?
an investment
Because
because I learned a lesson. Even if they don't learn, I learn. So it's an investment of what I can do, what I can't do. And see, that's what I'm saying. Each experience is predicated upon perception of that experience. So even in the sense that I invest time into somebody, like I give you
hmm
an example, my first marriage, right?
hmm
It didn't work out. It was very painful. A lot of money was, a lot of it was nasty, but that was an
hmm
investment because my next marriage, I'm happy. even
Okay.
though it's considered a loss, like I lost a lot, but it really wasn't because I gained more. Just the information was more valuable than any asset. My son, I mean, look at everything I done gained by learning what didn't
Hmm.
work. So even in that aspect, it's not a sacrifice. My time, the money, anything that could have been considered a loss was actually an investment because without losing it, I would have never learned the lesson. Sometimes things have to be taken away. What?
Shout out.
What, son? This? What's up here? This? What?
Lil D said, you hear me. You ain't lose your hearing.
Come on.
You ain't sacrifice that hearing. You hear me calling you daddy. But
Hey,
nah,
what's up?
nah. I mean, I understand. Like I said, I definitely understand. The that aspect. I really do. And it allows people to see things from a different perspective. And like I said, these conversations are always needed that be had, so that you know it's not a perception of somebody being smarter than, or whatever have you. It's just the addition to the situation, right? If you add your perspective into the conversation, you give somebody a different avenue to see something. And when you have that, it gives you a diverse way of accepting things from a avenue that you once didn't know was there. So, I truly, hey, Riders, what's up?
Rach in the
Afternoon.
building. What up, though?
But that's why, like I said, these conversations need to be had, right? And even though, we may not get the results that we want, meaning we may have to agree to disagree, right? The fact that you are adding to the conversation, you are investing into the conversation, right? You're not going to accept that there was a loss in time or a loss in the conversation, but you see that you added value to it. So I think if I'm understanding your perspective, I think that's the whole purpose of the meaning of sacrifice, not looking at it as a sacrifice, but looking at it as an investment.
And let me facts. And let me add one more concept. Because let me add the concept of applying, right? Uh, so what utilizing the right words in the right context, what happens is you build a mindset. What is a mindset? A mind frame of how you approach things. So looking at things, gaining, when you gain, when the potential is to gain, understanding that as an investment, the mind frame, the way you approach it will differ from the way you approach something if you have the mindset of sacrifice. You see what I'm saying? So it's more of it's creating the mindset. Which way is better? Which way is more, I'm not even gonna say better, but what is more beneficial? Investing into something or sacrificing to gain? Like how would you approach those two situations differently?
Mm, okay, so see, invest. All right. So investing, right? Investing is having something to take a chance with, right? You not like it. I think with investment, it's easy to accept the loss, right? Because you already going in with the possibility of hey, it may not work out in my favor, right? So you invest. All right, we're going to use it for everybody's purpose, right? You invest $100 into Microsoft, and Microsoft's take a deep dive, right? You lost that. When you sacrifice, to me, I've already lost. I have nothing to lose but to gain,
But do you
right?
do
Because
you
you
like
already given something up, and now you have no way but to come up out of it. That's just my perception of it. But I definitely go ahead. What you gonna say?
Like even when you look at sacrifice, the only time that we think about gaining is when it comes to the concept of God. Other than that, sacrifice is just simply a loss. The only time you look at gaining something is when it comes to God, and that's still under context. But the term itself, sacrifice, is to lose.
I
So
understand
you're
that,
not even
but if
looking to gain. You have to apply intention to even look for a gain within the sacrifice. You have to apply, like you have to add God. I'm sacrificing this for. You have to add something. But the concept of sacrifice is just to lose.
okay,
So
and that's
creating a mindset, even with the intention, like, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice this in hopes to get this versus investing. Like even most of the time when we think of investment, we think in the materialism, finances, right? So that's a loss in that. But when you're talking about investing into yourself, as far as reading a book, how do you what loss do you take? What's the potential of loss reading a book? Well, information. You have the potential to read misinformation and know the wrong thing. I
mm,
can accept that. But if you got the
so.
right information, if you're reading a book, if you're learning a new word, what's the potential of loss? If you're working out, what's the potential of loss? If you start eating healthier, what's the potential of loss? If you treat people good, what's the potential of loss?
I totally, I don't disagree with that, right? So let me ask you from the perspective of a resolution, right? You see how fast people say they're going to start a resolution and they give up on it? Do you think that's because they're already going into a thing as a doubt and not
No,
looking at it as an investment?
as
Or
an investment. Like people, like when people become martyrs, right? They don't look at this as a law. Like Martin Luther King, right? He knew that man knew he was going to be unalive. They said he was talking about it. He knew it, but he still continued to do. Why? Because he
mhm,
knew it benefit it is beneficial. So he invested his life source into the movement, but on a personal level, that he sacrificed his life because
right,
he wasn't gonna be able to enjoy the fruits of his labor. He's not here. So on a personal standpoint, yeah. So it's all about application. Like was what he did a sacrifice? It's only a sacrifice if we didn't use it as momentum or potential to change. Then it became a sacrifice. But if we
okay.
did something with it, then it's an investment.
That's like I said, that's totally understandable. And that's like, like I said earlier, this is why these conversations are needed to have, so that clarity is a key to understanding, right? If you can see things through, you can say, okay,
You ready to
I
go?
understand I understand your point. I understand all of these things. But once the conversation never happens, then you just stuck in idleness, and that'll make you wonder about things that don't need to be worried about. If you have the conversation, it clears everything out, right? It don't matter if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. There's a clarity that we understand the concept that you are bringing, right? So there's no misunderstanding of it because they understood the words that you expressed the difference with, right? Now, if you don't have this conversation, people may say, hey, you look crazy, you sound crazy, or I agree, you didn't need to have the conversation. But when you're dealing with people in specific, you have to, make sure that the majority can understand, and that's why these conversations are always, for me, embraced, whether they agree with it or not. You can okay, I understand the viewpoint. I just don't agree with it, right? And and that's the importance of having, topics like this. Is it daring? Yeah. Will it cause it'll cause a conversation? Absolutely. Will it cause a debate? Maybe so. But if you lay everything out, you give the person time and opportunity to view the concepts of the of what each person is, where they're coming from. And I think that's the beauty of these topics and conversations. Now, if you apply it and it works for you, that's always a blessing. If it doesn't apply for you, then it's still a blessing because you eliminated a aspect, even though you didn't gain from it. You invested your time, but it's not a loss according to what word is saying because you learned the lesson. It just didn't work for you. You see what I'm saying? So I totally agree with his concept of the manner of the difference between the sacrifice and the investment. Because as long as you're not losing, you're gaining, right? That's why, like that's like when I said the moral victory aspect. You're not looking at it as a loss because you even though you lost, you learned a lesson. Even though they may mark it as a loss, right? You still gain something. You see what I'm saying? So I definitely agree with what word is with what his concept is. He just coming with it from a different perspective, and hopefully this resonates with people to where I can agree with that. That makes sense and it's understanding. You know, I like I said, I don't even have no more to add to it because I I know that it was understandable for everybody, whether it's for a babe to that adult that feels like they can't learn something from it. I think it crosses all lines and boundaries to where this actually is a possibility that it makes sense to everybody. So I don't really have nothing else to add to the concept.
I just want to say one last thing. If
There you
y'all ever
go.
listen to me, half of the shit I say don't make sense until you apply it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna agree because I'm a empiricist. I practice empiricism, so it's through observation and testing things. So a lot of times, we are told things, and when we're told, we see the actuality of it. It's until we begin to practice different things where we see a different, like brother said, a different perspective. You have a different understanding of it because you applied it in a different way. That's why I always tell people just try to apply it and see what it do. You know what I'm saying? When you apply different things, you get a whole different understanding of it from trying to perceive it, trying to understand it. And that's why we go to school, though. They learn concepts and then we practice them and then we get tested on. So life is school itself. So we have to apply things. We have to. That's just broaden our horizon. That's even an investment. Trying new things. If it, like Gary said, if it worked for you, then it worked. If it don't, then it's not for you. But it might be somebody close to you that's beneficial. Like the more I learned about Islam, but I don't believe Islam is my path. But when I meet people in Islam, I can help them from the information that I know. Like when I explained the whole concept of jihad to my brother, and he practiced Islam, he approached jihad a different way. He didn't look on the outside; he looked on the inside, and that made him better. So I just say apply things. The more we apply, the better understanding. And I may say something that you apply, and you get a whole different, better understanding than what I got. And that's how we reach one and teach one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
But let
that's
me jump down,
exactly what.
brother. I appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely, I appreciate you coming up. I appreciate you adding, your perspective into the conversation. And as always, you always welcome. That's what we do. A better you is a better us. That's the nine way. So you always welcome, no matter what. I appreciate you. Look, I appreciate you sacrificing your time to invest in the conversation. You see how that works?
I, I ain't messing
It's
with you,
that
bro.
simple. I was waiting for you to get off just to say that one line.
I
But
gained, so there's no sacrifice, man. I appreciate you, bro.
it can't get no simpler than
Wow,
that.
shit.
And that's the beauty of the conversation. I appreciate you coming up. And for everybody that's still here, right? That's just the best way to
Okay.
simplify what he was saying, right? You know, if you gaining something from the concept, if you gaining something from the information, right? You're not really losing, right? You invested your time to sit here and listen to the conversation for the last 2 hours and change. But if you gained, you're not losing. You're adding, you're improving, you're investing in yourself. That's what he's saying, right? And I agree with that. Excuse me, but that's why I say when you go into the concept of giving your all to become a better version of yourself, whether it's physically, spiritually, or anything of that nature, don't look at it as you losing. Look at it as you're gaining. If you look at it that way, the loss is easier to substantiate, right? You may have to spend $100 to fill up your car with gas, but the fact that it gets you to your next destination, you don't really look at it as a loss. You're looking at it as your next step forward, right? And that's the concept that I want people to take from the conversation today as we had it. But more importantly, if you're going to accept the the 40 days of Lent challenge, if you're going to accept, Ramadan, take it from that perspective, right? You're giving you may have to spend to gain. You spend yourself to you spend yourself to get where you need to go, but the destination is worth what you have to spend, right? So in order for you to get closer to God, it's going to allow you to you have to allow yourself to spend in order to get to where you need to go. You got to spend, you got to lose yourself. You got to take away your daily activity, right? What's normal for you, in order to improve, you got to lose it in order to gain, right? So I definitely appreciate everybody coming up. I appreciate Word coming up. I appreciate everybody stopping through. BDB, Riders, Scorp, LA Project. I even got a special appearance from my homie Watermelon. I'm always happy to just even see her name, right? And Realist, of course, Meek. Uh, I hope Young Riaz, thank you for stopping up and add to the conversation. Rooks, I appreciate you stopping by, and you took the time to hear what I'm saying, even at work. You know what I mean? It's an honor for me to have the conversations. It's an honor for me to be a helper and not a herder. And as long as I continue to do the things that I need to do, I think I think well, I know without you guys, I can't become a better person or a better version of myself. So I truly appreciate you guys coming through. Don't get mad, homie. Um, if you take the challenge of the spiritual aspect of fasting and getting closer to God, if this works for you, may it work for you. If like he said, apply to see if it works. I know there's an aspect of it that can add to you. So I just challenge you guys to take that aspect from the spiritual aspect. Take the Lent challenge, take the Ramadan challenge, right? And if I can help you in any way, shape, or form or fashion, I am available to yeah, because it's evening time, right? Realist. Riaz for you, because yeah, it's like 6 o'clock. So your time of the daily fast is ending. I hope this has added to you as well, Riaz. It draws you closer to Allah, to where the understanding that you being on the right path is what you got from this today and every day that you put yourself in a situation. It's to add to you and not hurt you. But if you accept the challenge of taking these fasts, I'm willing to help you in any way, shape, or form that I can. So until next time, I speak to you guys later. I'm out.